I can see Sarah. I hope we'll have Tanaka back to share his experiences and the good work he continues to do in Zimbabwe. And I like that he brings...
Hello, Christine, I'm back.
Oh, perfect. Continue, sir.
I was saying we've come to a realization that unity is key for us as young people to make sure we reach this agenda for Africa. So we've created a forum where youth organizations will be sharing the programs which they are doing. So if there are youth organizations dealing with peace, then they will come to a point where they will program themselves to unite and go together into the communities so that the grassroots are reached out. If it's gender, if it's women empowerment, youth organizations will come to a position where they unite and work together. So that is our position so far in Zimbabwe, and we hope to come to a realization that we can integrate as regions, SADC, ECOWAS, East African Community, and as well as a continent. So I think we need to unite and share our programs and come to the realization we can be together as young people in Africa. Thank you so much, Christian.
Thank you so much, Tanaka. I could not emphasize what you've just said enough. The need for us to come together and speak from one point of view and share our the diversity within us, but in a collective front. And I'm very glad that you bring that up, because we do not excel in replicating projects. If somebody else is doing a project, let us see how we can help with the strengths that we have. And so we end up not duplicating the project that another organization is doing in the same country. So then some of these best practices can also help us move from one step to another, as opposed to doing the same thing in different, within different organizations. So thank you so much for bringing that up, Tanaka. And maybe could you share with us another best practice that you have realized from Zimbabwe that has really worked well for the young people in Zimbabwe in addressing some of the development issues experienced in Zimbabwe? Tanaka? Do we still have you?
Oh, can you come again, Christine?
What are some of the best practices that you have been doing as a youth group? And now that I see you're working together with the Zimbabwean Youth Council, what are some of the best practices you'd share with us on addressing the development issues in Zimbabwe?
I think so far I can
Hello? Okay. Tanaka, when you're ready, please get back to us on that. Thank you. I'm also seeing that we have questions from Sarah and Nanoche. I hope I pronounced that well. And Sarah is from the DRC. And could somebody please help me translate the question to English? I'm sorry, I don't speak French. Sarah, if you could just unmute yourself and ask the question, please. And maybe the translator can translate it in English for the English speakers in the group.
Hello, Christine.
Yes. Yes, Tanaka, go ahead.
All right. The best practices which we've been doing here in Zimbabwe as young people, I think, firstly, is we've been engaging our city council, the Harare City Council, and the Minister of Environment, to make sure we address issues surrounding the climate change issue, so that youth are responsible citizens who take cognizance of the environment, as well as through cleanup campaigns, and make sure uh, people stop doing mining activities in the national parks to safeguard our biodiversity and our natural resources as a continent. Then secondly, we have been working with the Institute of African Knowledge. If you following, there was the recently launched Affect book, which is meant to become a regional tool to help young people understand where we came from as a continent, and it will push the establishment of the African Museum of Liberation, which is going to be built in Zimbabwe. So that is the Agenda 2063 Aspiration 5, which talks of a cultural identity enhanced by young people, and to make sure that we restore our culture, our identity, and our ethics as a continent. Also, we've come to the realization that after the African Union Youth Empo launched the African Plan of Action for Youth Empowerment, which is APAI, which is running from 2019 to 2023, we have made sure each and every young people in Zimbabwe must know APAI, must be engaged with the 4 pillars. That is empowerment, that is entrepreneurship, engagement, education, employment. So we are now programming that we fully go on the grassroots to contribute to the 1 million campaign by 2021, where no youth should be left behind, and hashtag Africa Youth led. And we want to make sure those in the periphery, those down in the grassroots, should be involved and should lead and be ambassadors of the APAI. So I think, in brief, that is what we've been doing. And also, we've been engaging the Institute of Economic and Peace and the JM Busha 54 race and the Youth for Peace and Development in an effort to contribute to silencing the guns in Zimbabwe and in Africa. So I think that's the brief on what we've been doing and engaging here in Zimbabwe.
Thank you so much, Tanaka. And I'm happy that now we have at least a perception from a West African country in Nigeria, and now a South African region context in Zimbabwe. And I hope we can also have somebody from East Africa. We've also had Yara from the North share with us what they're doing in Egypt. And these are the stories that we want to amplify, because we keep saying young people are not included, young people are not given the platform to exercise leadership, young people are not included in decision-making platforms, but we're already seeing a lot of young people championing. And during this pandemic, we've seen a lot of resilience from young people, because young people were not necessarily infected by the virus, coronavirus, but we've seen a lot of young people in the continent affected due to the structural injustices, and we've seen a lot of young people. I know there are young people in Eritrea who were very kind to go and donate blood so that the people in hospitals could have sufficient blood for those who needed it. A lot of young people have been contributing to make sure that other young people who were jobless were not dying of hunger, and some of them dipped down into their pockets to make sure that they shared the few coins they had to make sure that some of the families had food. We've seen a lot of young people sharing masks. We've seen a lot of people making homemade sanitizers to ensure that young people and other elderly people are also safeguarded and they're not being exposed to the deadly virus. And so we're seeing a lot of young people's resilience coming out, and I want to applaud all of you. I know if we gave everyone an opportunity to speak, we won't have enough time, but I really want to applaud and acknowledge all of you who keep putting your lives in danger, but please also take care while also trying to ensure that you are helping your communities and your societies. I really thank you. Sarah Tambwe from Congo. If you could please unmute your mic and speak. We'd really like to hear from you. Sarah, if you can hear me, please unmute yourself and tell us something. Feel free to speak in French. We have a translator. Sarah from Congo. Sarah, if you can hear me, please prepare to speak. Let's also share this platform so it's me learning from you also, and us all learning from you. So next, as we wait for Sarah, shall we talk about the critical gaps towards implementing silencing the guns? What are some of the gaps that we have already identified? Because we are the champions in our society. We are the people who understand our community best. What is happening within our different jurisdictions that act as gaps towards the implementing of a gun-free continent, a gun-free countries? We know there's have been mentioned, or rather research has shown that we have a lot of lack of accountability for violation and abuse perpetrators within the circles of conflict. And I know the situation in Burundi, Cameroon, Congo, and that's why I was really hoping that we could hear from Sarah. Nigeria, we've had some of the issues that are happening in Nigeria. And recently, I know there was an attack by the Boko Haram, by one of the government officials, and that was just devastating. South Sudan and Sudan, I don't know if we have a representative here from South Sudan or Burundi or Cameroon to also just kind of give us some of the real-time experiences, especially when it comes to lack of accountability for the violations. Do we have anyone from these countries? Sarah, if you're able to speak, would really love to hear from you. Or anybody else? Burundi, Cameroon, or anybody else really. Let me not close you out. This is our platform. This is our engaging platform. So let's take and make use of it. Anyone from the team who would like to say something to this regard? What are some of the gaps that you think are going to hinder the implementation of silencing the guns in your different countries? Or rather, in your different organizational capacities? I know most of us are doing education for peace. Some of us are doing human rights for peace. Some of us are entrepreneurs for peace. Climate change and environmental issues for peace. Anyone who'd like to share some of the gaps? Members, please, this is our platform. Let's use this time. Okay. So one of the gaps that we see coming and is on budgeting. A lot of our governments do not necessarily budget for youth works within our different countries, and that is a gap that a lot of young people might experience when it comes to implementing a gun-free continent, because we need some money to do some of this. We need resources to do some of these initiatives that will make sure that we address the unemployment issues, we address the climate change issues. And so I was hoping one of us would share with us some of the best practices or some of the ways we could lobby for our governments to make sure that they are deliberately budgeting for specific issues within all the ministries in our government, to make sure that all young people in the different ministries are taken care of, and there's actually a budget for that to happen. Do we have anyone who'd like to share an experience? Amadou from Mali. Oh, Bakele says, in Cameroon, we are engaged in a prevention of conflict through early warning mechanism, such as the first ever woman situation room. Oh, that's a good initiative. Bakele, I hope I pronounced your name well. Would you like to tell us more about the first ever woman situation room? Bakele, please. Yafika Chitanda says, I think that the lack of inclusion of women and youth in spaces where decisions are made is, I think, a great gap, as we have people speaking to our issues based on their past experience. I couldn't agree with you more. And such platforms are actually where we amplify some of these issues, because we are young people. We don't want somebody who was a young person speaking about us young people who are now young people. So Yafika, I absolutely agree with you. And that is a gap. And so we need more young people speak for young people and not older women speaking for younger women. Amadou? If one of the translators could help me with some of the translations, please. But that's a really good initiative, Yafika. Bakela says, yes, actually, but I'm unable to unmute my mic. Oh, really? Let me see. Would that say, if one of the hosts could mute Bakela? Keith, do I have you on the line? Any technical persons to help me unmute Bakele? Please also feel free to raise your hand if you have any concerns you'd like to raise. Oh, sorry for those technical glitches. Yes. Oh, yes. Tell us.
Just a technical advice. If there is anyone who would like to speak, please raise your hand so we can quickly spot you and unmute your mic. And then you can continue the discussion.
Thank you so much, Udase.
You're welcome.
So yes, could you have Bakala, please, mics unmuted? Amadou, problem. I think Amadou is also experiencing problems with her mic. So if you could, would ask if you could help me unmute Bakele and Amadou.
Okay, give me a few
minutes. Yeah. Morning, everyone. Finally.
Oh yes, is this Bakel?
yeah, I'm the one. It was really a long wait.
Sorry, Bakel. Sorry for that.
No, never mind. It's okay. It happens.
So yeah, please tell us briefly in 1 minute, the first ever women's situation room. What is that?
Yeah, the Women's Situation Room was being set up in Cameroon by the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, WILF Cameroon section. And it was all about observing the elections. And it was a room made up of women. And the room, we had to train observers that we sent to the field and also train operators to be answering calls for feedback coming back from the field. So during the last presidential election of October 2018, we observed the election, and it was all about our observers in the field calling us to give us a feedback so we could have an actual situation and an updated information about how the election was going on. That is, everything started from, it was basically a once-year preparation for that to be set up. So we trained our observers, sent them to the field, and starting from, because in our electoral code, it states all offices should be open by 8 a.m. So at 8 a.m., we have the first call, we have the first feedback from the field. Where the offices really open at 8 a.m. Yes, everything is noted. Then by 10 a.m., we do what we call a preliminary declaration of the situation, giving already an overview if the first article is being respected concerning the opening of offices. Then it was also all about observing violence, especially violence on women during the election. Were women authorized to vote? How was the attitude of people towards women who were coming to vote? We had cases where, especially in the northern part of Cameroon, which is basically made up of Muslims. So it was all about, we had cases where women were being beaten up by their spouses because they were not in the same political line like their husbands. Others were being driven out of their homes. Others were being forbidden of voting by their husbands for the simple fact that they were women. So we had a lot of cases coming up concerning women. And at the end, we had a report that was really being published, and a copy was being sent to the Ministry of Women Empowerment and the Family. So we could see how to improve on the situation in the next coming elections. The same exercise was being carried out last February during our double elections. And we still have elections coming up this December. And it's a cycle, if I can say so. We are working with grassroots women, taking their preoccupations and confining in what we call our documents, and we send to the various ministries concerned. So for our advocacies in such a way that it could change. Samely, during our activities, we were able to make Cameroon adopt its first National Action Plan for Resolution 1325 on the Women, Peace and Security agenda of the Security Council. And we are in the implementation phase. Luckily, we fought at the Secretariat, so we are following up the activities, and a change has been observed because regarding the political context, especially, more women have been appointed as mayors. We have an increase also in the number of women who are parliamentarians. And samely, we also have an increase in the number of women at the level of ministries who are engaged in the ministries. So our work is still continuing. We engage youth as well. As last year, we had the training workshop on the Security 2250 of the Youth, Peace and Security agenda of the Security Council. And our work is still continuing, and we are closing a phase where we started a study last year, September, and it was all about the gender conflict analysis in Cameroon. What is the gender dimension in conflicts? Because as you all know, Cameroon has been in conflict since 2011 now, and the crises are growing up and growing up because last year we saw videos of women who were being maltreated and abused just because for the simple fact they were going out with military men in the regions of Bamenda. So we have serious attempts to women's rights in Cameroon, and it keeps growing. But our work is still continuing, and we are putting in more efforts in order to accompany the government curbing the situation. So concerning our work, I think, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bakel. And I can attest to that. I was in Cameroon last year in October, and the work that young people are doing in Cameroon and the resilience that you guys are showing in Bamenda, in Yaoundé, I'm just perplexed. You guys are, wow. Keep up the good work, Bakel. And now,
thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Because of time, let me let you end there and invite Amadou. Amadou from Mali. Amadou, if you could share with us, at least for 1 minute, please. Thank you. Do we have Amadou? Amadou? Could you hear me? I don't think we have her on the line. But yeah, to wrap it up, we've already have some of the recommendations actually coming from our speakers, and we have already had issues to do with lobbying and having young people actually speak and not older women speaking on their behalf. We've also had translation of the free trade agreement into local languages where people can interact and understand in their own languages, and then intergenerational co-leadership and unity among young people. So one of the things I would like for us to do as we give our recommendations is what we young people are committing to do in silencing the guns. I know in Zimbabwe, Tanaka has already told us that they are working closely with the National Youth Council in Zimbabwe to make sure that there's that unity. So what are some of the commitments that we are agreeing to as young people of the continent when it comes to silencing the guns? Any commitments coming from our members? Personally, I commit to sharing information and having a lot of dialogue, not just in my country, Kenya, but around the continent. And I'm already in conversations with people, with some young people in Cameroon. I know I'm working closely with the local youth corner. I am closely working with other organizations within the different regions. Just recently, we finished an online consultancy on youth peace and security issues within the IGAD region, and we are hoping to also come up with an IGAD region framework on youth peace and security. And so that is how I am committing to make sure that I amplify young people's voices when it comes to youth peace and security issues. What are some of the commitments that members in this team are engaging in or commit to doing?
Yeah, as to what's concerned me, I'll be committing in training and capacity building. That is training other youths, especially at the community levels, to be able, and give them access to information concerning all the opportunities and all what concerns peace and security at the level of Cameroon and how they can engage themselves. Because I had the good fortune of being a yearly member and was all about leadership and giving access information to people. So I'm engaged in community service at the community level, training youths to get them engaged more and more in questions concerning peace and security. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bakel. Thank you so much. Anybody else would like to share their commitments? And I hope we can, yes, hi. Who are we?
Yafika.
Oh, perfect. Yes. Talk to us.
Yes, so I commit to creating because I work for an organization where we are currently doing a project on enhancing women's participation in politics in Africa. So
in what country exactly? Sorry?
Across the board.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, so if there's any young women that are interested in politics, please do hit me up.
Okay, please remember to also share your contacts on the chat box so we can reach you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that commitment. Any other commitments coming from our members?
Christine, we are also running out of time.
Yes.
Please, let's try and summarize so that we don't run behind.
Okay. 1 more minute until we end this call.
Yeah, I was from Nigeria, Ibrahim.
Yes, Ibrahim.
Yeah, I'm committed to, we are organizing a women seminar and some renting skills to women so that we can endorse them toward conflict and bring in some resurrection and, coexistence with some other people and youth toward the development of new ideas and creative ways to end the violence against gender and some other aspects. We are organizing seminars and other renting skills in Nigeria here in Borno State. for at least we are organizing one in the end of this year, and in the early new year we are organizing some traumatization and conflict resurrection issues toward the ethnical and political conflicts and economic conflicts. We are organizing to see how far it can function and go to settle the main phenomenon of conflict in Nigeria.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ibrahim from Nigeria. And if you're in Nigeria also, please reach out. Ibrahim, if you get any young women who are interested in politics, please also put them in touch with some of the commitments that have been raised in here. Thank you so much. I see Rachel has written to us. I see also Yafika say young people should use social media platforms as a mechanism to amplify their voices. I couldn't agree more. I want to thank you all members for joining us in this session and committing and also sharing some of the good work that is already happening in your countries. And I'd like to urge you to continue doing the good work and let us collectively come together in ensuring that we continue to silence the guns in our continent, in our communities, in our countries. And at the end of the day, we'll be able to have a peaceful and a gun-free Africa. Whatever guns might be, if it's the guns of healthcare, if it's the guns of mental health issues, if it's the gun of unemployment, if it's the guns of sickness, you name it, let's silence them all. I thank you. I have been your facilitator for today. My name is Christine Odera. Please keep safe, take care of yourself, wear your masks, and sanitize. Bye for now. Keith and Udase, back to you. Keith and Udase.
Thank you, Christine. So the next session on the same line would be Keith.
Thank you very much, Udase. Really exciting to join on to this session. The session is on strengthening governance to prevent, manage, and resolve conflicts in Africa. The current parallel session that is happening now is on education, and it's happening on the yellow link. If you'd like the details, the host will share the link on the chat box to allow you participate on the education track if you'd like to participate. But thank you so much. Unfortunately, we don't have too much time. It will be really nice to, interact and know you all by names, faces, and voice. But I hope that before we finish up this session, at least we'll be able to capture all our nice pictures. So prepare yourself for a photo session at the end of the day. But really, colleagues, this is aimed to be a very interactive deliberations. Those who are here right on the webinar and many of you who are joining from the live link session, we continue to encourage you to use the hashtag 36 GIMAC to tweet and share your perspective for the larger audience who are not privileged to join us live. I'm your facilitator today, and my name is Keith Andera. I serve as the Director of Programs at the Africa Youth Commission. The Africa Youth Commission is a Pan-African youth network committed to promote the involvement of young people as very key and strategic partners in the implementation of two global agendas, Agenda 2030 of the Sustainable Development Goals, as we look towards the Decade of Action, and Agenda 2063, making Africa a home that we want. And our session today focuses on strengthening governance to prevent, manage, and resolve conflict in Africa. And we're really here to look at what is, the nexus between governance, or how do we strengthen governance with an aim of silencing the guns in Africa. And so it will be very, very, very open mic kind of session, where I would really like to also draw from your experience, from your perspective, from your community, from what's happening in your country. I know we are all representing different countries, with an aim of examining the situation analysis. What is it? What's the state at our national level in terms of the state of governance? How can we identify some of the challenges and barriers that are hindering women participation in political space and also within the larger governance space? We'll be very curious to look at some of the mechanisms that we can use to strengthen governance processes and structures at national level, at regional, all the way to the continental level. But most importantly, colleagues, would really like to feed onto the main session of the GIMAC training sessions with some very key recommendations for the member states of the Africa Union, the regional economic communities, the Africa Union, and also the development partners. What are our key recommendations from young people? With this, I hope that we can maximize the next maybe 50 or 45 minutes to dive into this. And my job here, and I promise you this is the last slide, is really to help us shape the direction by asking these questions that will kind of guide us. You know, I would like to hear from you. What is the nexus between good governance, peace and security, and stability? What is more important? Increase women in top positions, or support both men and women who are committed to gender equality policies? It would also be interesting to look at what are some of these policies that we have on the continent. And lastly, what are some of the barriers hindering women political participation? So with this, I'll just like to open the floor to all of you with an aim of looking and tackling, perhaps we can take rounds of questions through these three questions. What is the nexus between good governance and peace and security in your perspective? To guide us, perhaps you can just raise your hand. This will give us some sort of order. And also feel free to use the chat if you'd like, and we'll bring that to your attention. So I see Martha's hand up.
Yes, yes.
And you're
no,
permitted to talk.
I'm just saying, hi everyone, I'm the rapporteur. My task is to capture the issues that you are discussing, and then towards the last 10 minutes of the session, I can give a summary, but we would need someone to present in the plenary session from this group. Is that okay?
Thank you, Martha. Yeah, thank you, Martha. And perhaps we might want to, do we want to take up a volunteer now? Or do we want to take up a volunteer later? I think we could take up a volunteer now.
So that they can psychologically prepare now.
Absolutely, and also just, you know, support you in making sure that they capture, you know, key things. Any volunteer? Thank you, Martha. No. Any volunteer who would like to take up the presentation of the session later? Going once? You could raise your hand.
I see Bakel on the group say I propose myself.
Ah, super, super. Thanks,
yes, so
Kristen.
Bakel will be presenting. Yep, no worries.
Fantastic. All right, fantastic. So we'll just dive straight and look at what is the nexus between good governance and peace and security and stability. And I really want to just hear from your perspective, really, colleagues. Do you see any nexus? Is there any importance in strengthening governance to actually as a tool to silence the gun? Any takers? Yes, Sharon, you can speak, and Annie will be next.
Because it's too far.
Sharon, you're permitted to speak. Okay, we seem to have lost Sharon. But Annie, you're ready to speak? You're permitted. Annie?
Oui, bonjour.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, vous m'entendez? Vous m'entendez? Je peux parler?
Oui, très cher. Vas-y, on t'écoute parfaitement.
Merci beaucoup. Je suis Annie Bambé de la République démocratique du Congo. Je voudrais dire qu'il y a un lien étroit qui existe entre la bonne gouvernance, la paix, la sécurité et la stabilité. Parce que l'élément moteur, c'est la paix. C'est la paix. S'il n'y a pas de paix, la bonne gouvernance ne peut pas s'instaurer et la sécurité est mise en branle et il y a déstabilisation. Donc, l'élément qui lie les tout, à mon avis, c'est la paix. C'est pourquoi il faut renforcer la paix. Merci.
Merci beaucoup, Annie. Anyone else? Any takers? I saw some Q&A, but apparently it was from the other session. So I think that's okay. All right, we have Bakel, and then we have Yafika afterwards.
Yeah, thank you. I think there's a nexus between good governance and peace, security, and stability. Because in a country like here in Cameroon, where we are always confronted to the corruption, confronted to negligence by the part of the government, inaccessibility to basic necessities for living, it's not really quite, it's not possible for us to be in peace, because just looking at the case of what is happening in the Anglophone region was all about marginalization, all about frustration by the populations living in those areas where, facilities to get access to basic necessities was not really easy. And that was one of the, one of the causes of frustration leading to a conflict situation and to what we are seeing today. So I think for me, if a government is able to provide at least the basic necessities for its population, then at least, though peace does not absolutely mean absence of war, but at least it's going to, so in other words, mean absence of armed conflicts, like what we are witnessing now in our country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A very, very interesting perspective. Yanifa and Julie.
Hi, it's Yafika.
Yafika, sorry.
Yes, so I believe that good governance has an implication on the stability of the country, because I say this because if young people were given the opportunities to then have jobs after they graduate or have their voices heard. We have seen, for instance, in the recent Malawi election, how there was there were statements made that young people will be included in spaces of power. But then after the elections, then you see that there hasn't been much that has been done. Otherwise, they are making excuses to why not they have not been included. When during the election trail, they kept on saying that young people will be included and young people do matter. But then when you put these people in power, then they draw back and say, no, young people, they're for the future. And yet they do not see that the future that they're talking about is created by us being involved at this time. So if we are included, and included by not just being included as to show numbers, but to be effective by contributing to what policies affect us and how the country runs, I would think that there would be some sort of peace, or working towards a peace and stable country and economies in Africa. Thank you. Hello?
Thank you very much, Yafika. I forgot to unmute myself. Julie, you have the floor.
Allô? Allô?
Yes, we can hear
Hello,
you.
yes,
Allô?
we can hear you.
Oui, bonjour.
Ça va?
Bonjour.
Oui, bonjour. C'est Julie Cissé du Sénégal. Et je voudrais donner mon avis par rapport aux priorités. Je pense qu'il faut renforcer la paix et la sécurité dans nos pays. Parce que l'absence de paix et de sécurité renforce la vulnérabilité des femmes et des jeunes. Si je prends l'exemple de mon pays, le Sénégal, nous sortons des inondations. Les fortes pluies ont engendré des inondations dans certaines régions du Sénégal. Et il fallait voir ces images insoutenables où les femmes et les enfants étaient dans des conditions extrêmement difficiles parce que les inondations avaient fini de prendre leurs habitations. Cette situation d'insécurité met à nu la vulnérabilité de la femme et de sa progéniture. Elle ne peut pas aller sans laisser ses enfants. Donc, à mon avis, il faut renforcer, certes, la bonne gouvernance dans nos États, mais il faut renforcer la participation politique des femmes et des jeunes pour sauvegarder cette paix et cette sécurité. Et au niveau des organisations féminines, je pense qu'il y a eu beaucoup d'informations, de formation, de sensibilisation sur la 1325 pour que les organisations féminines, les femmes leaders comprennent qu'elles doivent prendre part au processus de paix. C'est seulement, à mon avis, cela qui puisse nous garantir une paix. Et quand il y a une forte participation politique des femmes et des jeunes, à mon avis, il y a plus de garantie de stabilité. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much, Julie. I think you bring out very key perspectives, especially around enhancing women environment in governance, and also looking at women participation in politics. I think this is a very critical conversation that we might want to dive in later. I see a couple of hands up. We have Emanuela, who you're permitted to speak. Thereafter, we have Atakli. I hope I've not massacred your name. Lillian will go the next round. Thanks.
Hello.
Atakli, please.
Hello.
Hi, I hear you.
Yeah, this is Emanuela from YWCA Togo. I want
Thank
to...
you, Emanuela, and make your submission.
I think there is a nexus between good governance, peace, security, and stability. For me, for example, in my country, because we are living in peace, there is certain peace, we are feeling secure, there is a certain stability, even though we are still complaining about the good governance because they are not permitting young people to come closer to the decision board. They are not involving youngs, and they are not giving young people the opportunities to express themselves. But still, though we are still working on the good governance, because we have peace, we are feeling secure, and there is still a certain stability in the country. So I think there is a link between good governance, peace, security, and stability. Thank you. Hello?
Fantastic. Hello? Yes, Emanuela, thank you for the submissions. We have Elom. Please.
Good morning. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so my name is Elom. I'm from Ghana, and I work with an organization called GIMAC, which is into the political participation of women and women's rights in general. I believe that there is a strong nexus between good governance, peace, security, and stability, because good governance leads to the establishment of strong and credible institutions. And once institutions are credible, people have trust in the system, and it goes a long way to prevent conflict. My country, for example, is voting in December, and because of there's a lack of trust in our electoral management body right now. So during our voters registration phase, where you are adding more people onto the national register, it witnessed a lot of violence and chaos in certain areas. This morning, for example, an MP was shot dead by young people who felt that politicians are cheating the system. And here we are preparing for election in December with all of these happening just because people do not have faith in our institutions. So good governance goes a long way to establishing peace and stability. Thank you. Hello.
Hello.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. I think we got some feedback from somewhere, but really you brought out very key examples, specifically because Ghana is going into an election, and looking through how credible institutions and trust within these institutions bring out some element of violence and chaos, because the basis through which we have good governance, and the start and end of it all is in the management of our electoral processes. So we will take up, oops, sorry about that. We will take up two other colleagues. very quickly, and then we'll move to the next question. Lilian, you're permitted to speak, and then Lamona will go next.
Oui, allô? Allô? Allô, vous m'entendez?
Oui, oui, allô?
Allô? Oui,
Yes, we can hear you.
Ok, bonjour. Bonjour, c'est Liliane de la RDC. Je voulais juste aussi participer à cette plateforme. Effectivement, il y a un lien très étroit entre la bonne gouvernance, la sécurité, la stabilité et la paix, étant donné que justement la bonne gouvernance implique que le pouvoir puisse allier l'économique et le social au niveau national. Et de la bonne gouvernance peut découler la paix, la stabilité et la sécurité. Mais par rapport à notre pays, la RDC, nous sortons d'une longue période de dictature, ce qui fait que la bonne gouvernance pour nous est un peu, comme si je pouvais dire, un nouveau langage. Et pendant toute cette période-là, et les femmes et les jeunes ont été utilisés pratiquement comme des pions par rapport aux enjeux politiques qui n'étaient pas bons pour la nation entière, qui étaient bonnes seulement pour un certain groupe de personnes, principalement des hommes d'ailleurs. Et ce qui fait qu'aujourd'hui, les femmes et les jeunes commencent à réaliser leur jeu, leur rôle dans la société, et des mouvements commencent à se former petit à petit par rapport à cela. La RDC aussi, côté sécurité, nous connaissons tous ce qui se passe à l'est de notre pays et combien de temps ça a duré, et que les couches les plus touchées sont effectivement les femmes et les jeunes. Et donc, de cela, nous avons tout intérêt, nous, à avoir vraiment un système de bonne gouvernance pour que tout cela soit arrêté. Voilà, c'est un peu ce que je voulais dire. Merci.
Thank you very, very much. And you bring in very interesting perspective of how, and very practical example of how women and youth have been used in the past to oppress fellow citizens and for political gains of few individuals at the expense of the security, at the expense of peace, at the expense of stability, citing example from DRC. Merci beaucoup. So very quickly, and allow me to have the next two give your intervention in under 30 seconds so that we can move quickly onto the flesh and the meat of it all. So we'll have Lamola and Mohindo. The rest, if you have any deliberations, if you have any interjections, kindly have it on the chat as we move on to the next phase. So thank you, and Lamona.
Allô?
Oui, oui, allô?
Oui, je voulais parler un peu, mon opinion de ça, c'est la monnaie de l'Ouganda. Est-ce que vous m'entendez?
I can't quite hear Lamona, but I can hear the translator.
Lamona, please proceed. Kit, you can listen to the translator.
Ok, je pensais que je disais que la cause, une des causes les plus importantes du manque de la paix est la mauvaise gouvernance. Parce que si je donne un exemple dans mon pays, le Burundi, il y a une très mauvaise gouvernance, ce qui a créé la paix et l'insécurité. Il y a la discrimination, l'exclusion et comment dire, oui, let's say ça, parce qu'il y a les jeunes et les femmes surtout ne veulent pas être partie des politiques ou donc si tu donnes ton qui est totalement contraire, si tu dis ou t'exprimes d'une façon que ça oppose leur opinion ou leur gouvernance, tu es en danger parce que tu peux... C'est vraiment grave parce que tu crains ta vie. Il y a beaucoup de décès du fait qu'ils ont donné de leur opinion et du fait qu'ils s'opposent au fait à la mauvaise gouvernance. Les personnes the people that bring out les mauvaises choses qui arrivent dans le pays. Et donc, cette mauvaise gouvernance a vraiment, vraiment contribué à manque
Okay, for the interest of time, we will move on, and when she comes back, she would give us submission on the chat. And I really like the contribution she's brought on. You know that women are not willing to be involved in decision making at political parties, and this is really where I want us now to dive a bit more and talk about political participation. And now look at what are some of the challenges that are actually hindering and affecting women to participate in political processes. And political processes here, I mean, Lamona has done a good job in giving an example and citing to us how bad governance directly is linked to violation of human rights. And she went ahead to give an example of freedom of speech, in fear that you might lose your life as a young person or as a woman. And as a result, there's humongous violation of human rights. But when we talk about political participation, for me, it's a whole holistic thing, and I would like to also pick up your mind on this, looking at it from a different dynamic angle, from mobilizing women voters to political parties and the electoral processes. What are some of the challenges? How do we increase women again into political participation? How do we strengthen political parties and their policy around gender equality? So, colleagues, I would really like for us to look at what are some of the barriers that hinder this possible, and then we can dive quickly onto some of the key recommendations that we can draw up, best examples to national governments, to the RECs, and to the AU and the development partners. So I'd really like to open up the floor this time round to look at some of the challenges that we have that hinders women political participation. And thank you so much. Any takers? We are happy to do the same drill. of having you raise up your hand and we'll again pick up. Already I see a few hands up. So we'll just begin right away. The first person, Yafika, you're allowed to speak.
Thank you. Just to highlight on the challenges, I think women face challenges of violence. I think that's one of the biggest issues that women and youth then would shy away from participating in politics, because there's just a lot of violence that goes into if a woman wants to run for politics, because at the end of the day, people see it as a man's game. And if young people also do join, there's that thing of you are too young. That's where we see the campaign of Nigeria, not too young to run. I guess that's one of the things that women face. And also how the media then reports on women who are in politics. They focus less on their role as a politician as opposed to the things that make them, for instance, I'll make an example. There is an article in the Zambian paper, I think 2 days ago, where a female politician went on radio to speak about the political party, but then they ended up asking her questions of, oh, who did you sleep with to be on that position, you know? So they sexualize the whole thing instead of just listening to her as a person who is interested in the policy of the country or the running of the country. So they confine women to specific traditional gender roles of childbearing, and a woman cannot be in these spaces because she must have slept with someone. She is not intelligent enough to be a politician. She is too emotional. So if we take away all these things and just listen to what women bring, because if we look at how, for instance, countries like Germany have handled COVID, you would see that on top of that, there's women leaders. But us here in Africa, I mean, we've seen with the case of Joyce Banda. She was moved because she was a woman, not necessarily because of the policies that she brought to Malawi or the improvements that she was bringing to the table. And the other thing that deters women and youth from joining politics is finance, because unlike the male counterparts, there is a lot of people that are willing to fund their campaigns as opposed to women, because people just traditionally, we have this mentality that we see women as confined to the homes, confined to specific gender roles that we as a people have grown accustomed to. So we would never finance a woman as opposed to if their male counterpart came. And also, I think it's very important that in political parties, in their policies, in their what do they call them, manifestos, that women roles and a woman's place within the party is written down in stone. Because if it's set down in stone, it's easier to say we're supposed to include women. So if a rhetoric is backed up by male members, it's carried forth. And I mean, as if men come as supporters, it carries more weight as if it's just women on their own. So we need men to also come to the table to say, yes, we need our youth, we need our women. We don't need sympathizers, but at the same time, we need collaboration from the male counterparts. That's the only way that we can then say women are important. Not that we don't know, but it's important to have one voice in essence. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You really brought out a very key facet of violence within the political participation. And I think I cannot underscore how violence has been used to intimidate opponents or even to, lock out women and youth within political processes. And it starts all the way from, nomination to voter mobilization to, the campaign duration, and all the way to even tally. We've seen situations where agents of political opponents have been chased from tallying centers or places where counting is happening. And also, I think within your submissions, I was able to pick up some key, again, recommendation, and we cannot emphasize more on collaboration, building allies, really, to ensure that together we speak a stronger, a bigger voice, and also creating mechanisms within the political party structures to ensure that gender equality is guaranteed. Thank you so much. And I see Amadou next. You're permitted to speak. Please make your intervention as short so that we can move in fast. Over to you.
Bonjour. Vous m'entendez?
Bonjour.
Ok. Ok, merci. Et en fait, par rapport à cette situation, gouvernance, stabilité et paix, moi je dirais que la condition sine qua non d'abord, il faut la bonne gouvernance. Là, j'accepte, je parle sur deux choses. D'abord, il faut la justice sociale, parce qu'aujourd'hui, si je prends le cas du Mali, la jeunesse est victime aujourd'hui, surtout par l'enrôlement dans les groupes armés. Ça, c'est un aspect. Il y a un autre aspect, ça, c'est concernant. Il n'y a pas de perspective. Il n'y a pas de perspective. Les jeunes n'ont pas d'emploi. Donc, facilement, ils sont très faciles à être enrôlés aux côtés des groupes armés. Donc, je pense que, sincèrement, il faut la justice sociale et donner beaucoup de possibilités à la jeunesse de pouvoir avoir des perspectives pour pouvoir avoir accès à un emploi, pour avoir des perspectives dans notre société. Aussi, il faut qu'aujourd'hui, il y ait quand même un quota pour la jeunesse. Ça, c'est aussi très important parce qu'on ne peut pas parler au nom de la jeunesse tant que la jeunesse elle-même n'est pas impliquée dans les instances de prise de décision. Quand il dit jeunes, il s'agit aussi hommes et femmes. Il faut qu'il y ait aussi un quota pour ces jeunes-là, partout, sur tous les postes politiques. Donc, si on doit participer à des élections, il faut qu'il y ait un quota pour les jeunes. Donc, les jeunes, eux aussi, peuvent parler en leur nom, ils savent quelle est leur préoccupation, quels sont vraiment leurs problèmes. Et là, dès que les jeunes aussi vont participer à ces instances de prise de décision, et aussi, il y a une possibilité d'accès à l'emploi, et il y a aussi une justice sociale qui est là. Tout le monde a la même chance de concourir sans aucune discrimination. Je dirais que ce serait une très bonne chose. Sinon, gouvernance, la stabilité, la paix dépend de la bonne gouvernance. Je vous remercie. Amadou depuis le Mali.
Thank you very much. Those are very key submissions. And I'm just going to tie what your last submission was on ensuring that we've made quotas for women and they are not compromisable. I read a message from chat from Yara, and she says two things. One, we need to capacitate the women to be able to strongly participate. And two, we don't make quota for women. It's not an advantage to make quota for women. An equal participation should take place normally. I also see great message from Jennifer. She says, women need to change their mindset to support all women. See a win as for everyone. I think here we are talking about, again, collaboration and building allies and ensuring that, we are each other's keeper and supporter. So quickly again, take three hands that are remaining, Elom, Arek, and Magaisa. So Elom, please, you're permitted to speak. Make your intervention short so that we can move as fast.
Okay, thank you very much. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, hello. I confirm we can hear you.
Okay, one reason why we don't see a lot of participation of women in politics is because of Internal party practices themselves does not favor women. Several political parties have women's organizer positions, but beyond women organizer positions, there are no other powerful positions for women to occupy in political parties. Women organizer positions are just there for the National Women's Organizer to mobilize the votes of women. Beyond that, political parties are not really interested in increasing the participation of women and bringing out policies to solve issues such as gender violence against women in politics and reducing the expensiveness of politics for women. Thank you.
Wow, short and precise. Beyond using women and dangling carrots for them to mobilize the women voters, yet there are no policies to address key issues such as gender violence and other issues related to electoral violence remain permanent and pertinent issues. Thank you very much. And we will move to Arek. Please, you're allowed to speak. Arek?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Am I clear? Hello?
Arek, you're muted.
Okay.
Okay, we don't seem to have her, so I'll take the next on the line. Lozada Tosali, please, you're permitted to speak, and then we'll have Magaisa.
Allô, vous m'entendez? Oui, moi je voudrais bien réagir. Je suis Rosalie Kalonji depuis la RDC. Je voudrais réagir sur les barrières qui empêchent la participation politique des femmes. Sur ce point, il y a deux points, le point culturel et le point structurel. Sur le plan culturel, il y a ce que la société donne comme rôle à la femme en tant que mère, en tant que femme au foyer, en tant que celle qui doit s'occuper des autres, s'occuper de la famille. Et du point de vue structurel, c'est ce que les lois donnent, ce que les lois offrent à la population, qui prônent pourtant la parité, mais on voit, contrairement à ce que la loi donne, où il devrait y avoir 50-50 dans ce qui est dans les prises de décision ou dans la participation politique, il n'y a que moins de 50% où on voit la femme. Et dans ce qui concerne les partis politiques, on voit que les femmes elles n'arrivent pas à se démarquer à cause déjà de ce qu'il y a comme le patriarcat qui a été instauré dans la société africaine depuis. Et donc, ce qui fait que la femme a des difficultés pour elle de pouvoir accéder à certains postes politiques. Mais ce n'est pas ce qui devrait empêcher la femme de pouvoir aller de l'avant ou de pouvoir se mettre en avant pour pouvoir faire entendre sa voix et pouvoir entrer dans cette sphère politique et de pouvoir avancer en tant que femme politique et prendre des décisions pour son pays. Merci.
Thank you very much. Great to break that into structural and cultural issues that we have really spoken into. I see Arek's hand is up now. Are you able to speak, Arek? Kindly make your intervention short, sweet, and precise.
Hello, Kate. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
You can hear me, yeah?
Yeah, I hope everyone else can.
We can hear you.
You can? Okay, now to save time, let me just write my points in the chat, okay? And take another commenter. Is that okay?
I could hear you now, though.
You can hear? Okay,
Yes,
Kate,
yes.
okay. One of the reasons that hinders women political participation is the cultural barriers in the context of Africa, and especially that of South Sudan is not easy. For women to access political grounds is just like a taboo, it's a no-go zone. So women are hardly seen participating in the political spaces because some cultures do forbid women's leadership. And then also lack of political will in the context of my country. You see most of the women, they are hardly submissive to take over political spaces. And also discrimination of women in the political spaces is high, is on a high rate here in South Sudan. Most men would not even entertain women sitting next to them in the political spaces. So that gives women less chances to have the political positions. And also lack of resources. You know, when you are politically, economically empowered, you will have a choice to take this and that. But women here are not given the economic meltdown in the context of the conflict that the country is in. Most women really don't have resources to have a choice to take over political positions. And also the quota, the women quota in political space is less. As we speak, women are highly fighting to meet at least 35%, which was already given. I mean, which they really fought for it, but it still is not met by the government. So that one limit women to have much spaces or much position in the political space. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your submission, Eric. You know, economic empowerment cannot be re-emphasized on how political participation is financed, from mobilization to you know, to all the way putting up a campaign team. I see Magaisa hands up. I'd like to take you, and then there are two other hands before we move to the last leaf of the segment, where we will be looking at the very critical aspects where I'd like you to prepare the recommendations. So Magaisa, please, the floor is yours, and make it short and precise.
Thank you very much. I'm from Zimbabwe, and I see that a lot of people have been talking about the challenge of lack of campaign funds for women, for aspiring women leaders. And I have a recommendation which I think would be very helpful. I think in most African countries, we have what we call political party finance. And I think it should be mandatory that a certain percentage is set aside for aspiring women leaders so that they will be able to compete in any electoral processes. Then my next submission is on, we have international observers who come to observe elections. Even I can even include like the regional observer missions like SADC and AU. I think we should advocate that they tell electoral management bodies to collect and publish gender disaggregated data so that this can be used for improved planning of elections by political parties so that we can increase the chances of women to compete in elections. And I think it's very important for civil society organizations to also do gender audits to see the gaps and where most political parties are lacking in terms of ensuring that there's equal representation between men and women. I'll just give an example, like the last part. In Zimbabwe, we have, my last point is that the government also should be able to be held accountable. It should implement like constitutional provisions. For example, in Zimbabwe, we have a constitution which says that there should be a 50-50 gender representation. But at the moment, we have a women's quota system, which is about to be extended. So I can give an example where I would say we have 200 seats in parliament. And what I am saying is that instead of having a quota system, we should divide those seats 50-50. For half of the seats, we have women, like half, 105 of the seats, we should have those reserved for women from different political parties to just contest on their own. So I think with these submissions, we'll be able to ensure that there's equal representation of women in politics. Thank you.
I forgot to unmute myself, but great submissions. And thank you for also bringing out such key recommendations, citing examples from your country. I still see 3 hands up. I wonder whether these are old hands or they require new opportunities to speak. Is that the case? In the meantime, I'll take up some comments from the chat box. Chikwasha, please pardon me when and if I'm massacring your name. Women constitute larger population worldwide. Thus, a number of influential positions must be preserved for them, both economically and politically. Yeah, we are running out of time. We have a few minutes left. So we'll just do the quick recommendations and then we will summarize and hopefully close in 5 minutes. So please, let's take a round of recommendations that you have. Keep it very specific, those to CSOs, if there are recommendations to the member states of the Africa Union, if there are recommendations to the REC, and lastly to the AU and development partners. If we can have one for each, I think we will have delivered the objective of the sessions today. So please, let's take up the recommendations. Anyone? Everyone? Yes, I see a hand up. You're permitted to speak, Julie.
Allô? Allô?
Hello, Julie.
Oui, allô? Oui, je voudrais faire une recommandation forte pour la participation politique des femmes. Je pense qu'il faut régler en amont cette question fondamentale de l'autonomisation économique des femmes. Et cette autonomisation économique des femmes passe par l'entrepreneuriat féminin. Nos gouvernants, nos États, la CEDEAO, en ce qui me concerne, et l'Union africaine doivent renforcer, prendre des mesures énergiques spécifiques pour renforcer l'entrepreneuriat féminin et permettre à ces femmes leaders d'être économiquement fortes pour pouvoir représenter valablement nos sœurs dans les instances de prise de décision. Mais avec cette faiblesse économique, c'est un handicap pour la participation politique. Et une sœur a dit que de plus en plus, la gouvernance, la politique a une connotation directe avec les finances. Qui n'a pas les finances ne peut pas se donner le luxe de faire la politique ou d'être dans les autres instances. Donc, c'est un handicap qu'il faut, aussi bien pour les femmes que les jeunes, il faut aider à soulever cet handicap, c'est-à-dire l'entrepreneuriat féminin, l'entrepreneuriat des jeunes. Il faut des mesures spécifiques et des financements adaptés pour accompagner le processus. Merci.
Thank you very much. We cannot emphasize more on the need for financing. Annie, see your hand up. Do you want to take the floor very shortly? Annie, do you want to take up the floor?
Oui, Annie, de la RDC.
Okay.
Je voulais dire, parce que ici en RDC, on a pensé on vit la discrimination qu'il y a par rapport aux textes légaux. C'est pourquoi il faudra vraiment qu'au niveau de l'Union africaine, qu'on pousse les chefs d'État et des gouvernements à respecter leurs engagements pris par rapport à la participation politique de la femme. On dirait que les textes qui sont pris au niveau de l'Union africaine, ce sont juste des romans, et quand les chefs d'État arrivent dans leur pays, ils sont les premiers à ne pas respecter ces textes. Il y a cette difficulté, parce qu'on ne peut pas comprendre qu'on a souscrit à certains instruments juridiques, on a signé, on a adhéré, on a ratifié, mais la mise en œuvre pose problème. Ça pose problème parce que justement, il n'y a pas de mesures contraignantes. Comment on peut arriver à obliger les chefs d'État à mettre en œuvre ce qu'ils ont signé, ce qu'ils ont souscrit? Et puis aussi voir comment renforcer et alimenter un fonds spécifique, un fonds spécial pour autonomiser la femme, pour appuyer la candidature de la femme. Parce que ça manque. Vous n'aurez pas, dans notre pays, vous n'avez pas une banque qui peut vous donner un crédit pour votre campagne électorale. Il n'y en a pas. Il n'y en a pas. Donc, il faut vraiment qu'on se base sur la discrimination positive, qu'on mette en place un fonds qui doit alimenter, qui doit appuyer la participation politique de la femme. Merci.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I see Lillian's hand on top. You are permitted to speak.
Oui, merci. C'est juste pour appuyer ce que Madame Annie vient de dire. Je viens de totaliser plus de 10 ans dans un parti politique et j'ai postulé par deux fois aux législations nationales. Et chaque fois, c'était pratiquement le même problème. C'est qu'on était d'ailleurs très peu de femmes à postuler au sein de mon parti. Mais justement parce qu'on avait des idées et que les personnes qui pouvaient nous soutenir semblaient voir leur pouvoir amenuisé ou leur pouvoir être dérangé, ne nous soutenaient pas à notre juste valeur. Ce qui fait que, comme on sait la politique, on ne sait pas la faire sans argent, eh ben, à chaque fois, on était chaque fois un peu écartés parce que du fait qu'on était femmes, en fait. Et cette discrimination-là, on le sentait. On nous donne, au sein des partis politiques, on nous donne des postes pour les femmes, pour le social. Pourtant, on a des femmes qui sont avocats, on a des femmes ingénieurs et on ne peut pas les prendre par rapport à leurs compétences. C'est toujours pour une action par rapport aux femmes. Bon, voilà, toi, tu es une femme, apparemment, tu parles bien et tout. Va gérer les autres femmes par rapport à ce que nous, on te dit. Nous, les hommes, puisque la plupart de ceux qui étaient les dirigeants étaient des hommes et qu'il y a très peu de partis politiques en fait dirigés par les femmes, ce qui fait aussi que les femmes se retrouvent un peu bloquées à un certain niveau. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. Very quickly, I see Rosalie, please.
Moi, je voudrais beaucoup plus intervenir par rapport aux recommandations qu'on pourrait faire. Il devrait y avoir des pools de développement, surtout dans les zones à conflit, pour qu'il puisse y avoir une réintégration de ces ex-combattants. Parce que ce que l'on remarque dans ces zones de conflit, c'est qu'il n'y a pas d'autre alternative pour ces jeunes ex-combattants que les armes. Donc, pour qu'il puisse y avoir une meilleure réintégration de ces jeunes dans la vie et donc des programmes de mobilisation et de réinsertion dans la vie, dans la société devraient être mis en place pour pouvoir donner une nouvelle chance, une seconde vie à ces jeunes ex-combattants. Merci.
Thank you very much. I see 2 hands. I want to believe we'll make them very short. Amadou and Lamona, and then we will close there. Amadou, you're permitted to speak, and Lamona, you'll be next.
Ok, merci. Pour moi, la recommandation que j'ai à faire, ça c'est vraiment, je vais rejoindre un peu mes prédécesseurs, surtout c'est mettre en place un fonds spécial pour soutenir les femmes candidates. Parce que réellement au Mali, nous avons cette loi, Dieu merci, 0,50, qui dit que on donne 30% est réservé aux femmes quand on doit aller aux élections. Maintenant, ces femmes-là n'ont pas de moyens pour pouvoir mener campagne. Donc, c'est comme si elles sont figuratives sur les listes électorales, mais à la fin de compte, vous trouverez que vraiment ces femmes-là n'ont pas assez de moyens pour pouvoir mener la campagne. Donc, la recommandation que j'ai à faire, c'est vraiment qu'on mette en place un fonds spécial pour soutenir les femmes candidates. Ça, c'est ma recommandation. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. Lamona, please make your submissions. Make it short and precise. Thanks. Lamona? Okay, for the interest of time, I see Auntie Kumba on call and her hand is raised up. So, ma'am, you're permitted to make your intervention.
Oui, bonjour. Allô?
Bonjour.
Oui, bonjour. Je suis avec beaucoup d'intérêt le débat et vraiment je me félicite de ces très fortes recommandations. Je pense que je voulais juste ajouter ma voix à ce qui vient de parler pour dire que nous devons effectivement faire un effort pour appuyer la participation politique et économique des femmes. Voilà, c'était vraiment, je l'ai entendu plusieurs fois et je voulais adhérer ma voix dans ce sens-là. Encourager, mais également appuyer les femmes qui ont le courage et qui, par les politiques que nous avons su apporter en Afrique, se manifestent aujourd'hui dans les partis politiques ou de façon spontanée, qu'on puisse les soutenir et les encourager pour qu'elles puissent vraiment participer à la vie politique. Voilà. Je vous remercie beaucoup.
Thank you very much, Auntie Kumba. I think this really just tells us the weight and the relevance of this conversation, that if we really need and intend to silence the gun and look at the barriers in silencing the gun in Africa, we must, as a matter of fact, as a matter of urgency, and as a matter of priority, look at the governance structures on our continent, from the community level to the national level, to the regional level, and all the way to the continental level. That we need to organize the structures, we need to be accountable, we need to be transparent, and we also, most importantly, find mechanisms to allow young people's participation, women participation within these governance processes. Specifically, and more importantly, political participation as a fundamental basis of governance and through which resources are shared. And I think we've taken a lot of time to look at some of key issues and how we can foster collaboration in finding solutions that we can jointly work on to ensure that we do not take 95 years, as it was said in the first opening session, to attain gender parity in Africa. But I believe together we can do this and we can achieve this to the fidelity of the next generation. Again, I'm just reminding you, this is not the end of the conversation. Keep it 36 GIMAC as the hashtag. We will continue to use that hashtag. We'll continue to look out for your reflections. We'll continue to want to hear and interact more about you. At this particular session, I want to bring to the floor Martha, who will capture some of the key recommendations that we have discussed with the purposes of presenting this in the plenary afternoon, and therefore thereafter making a position statement. Thank you, and Martha, thank you.
Thank you so much, Keith. So I'll just summarize. I understand Michelle is going to present. So there were a lot of issues that were raised on the link between good governance and peace and security. I think there was a general consensus that there's a nexus between good governance, peace and security. Examples that were given were that good governance addresses the economic dimensions of peace and security. So if governments can provide jobs for young people, it means that they are not easily recruited to join armed groups, and also they are not excluded in political processes. And then I think there was an example from Malawi where it was pointed out that there was a link between good governance, peace and security, particularly in involving young people in decision-making and good governance. There was an observation that after the elections, youth in Malawi were excluded in positions of governance, although the campaigning mode or the premise of that election was on youth participation. And then there was an example from Ghana, which cited the need to establish strong and credible institutions as a basis of good governance. The examples noted that creating strong and credible institutions will then foster trust, citizen trust in those institutions. So an example was given about perceptions of citizens, particularly young people, towards the electoral management body in Ghana. It was cited that the lack of trust in the electoral management body in Ghana has witnessed violence and chaos in some parts of Ghana. And also an example was given of an MP who was killed by young people in Ghana, which is reflective of the lack of trust between youth and political leaders. And then we discussed the issues related to the structural, cultural, and institutional barriers affecting women's participation in politics and in governance and in decision-making. Key issues came up. One was the gender division of labor. Women are restricted to the domestic sphere, and in most cases, they are not expected to venture into the public sphere. The second reason was given is the lack of political will in implementing the gender legislations and policies. For example, in South Sudan, the 35% quota is not yet fully implemented. In Zimbabwe, despite the 50-50 constitutional provision, it's not yet fully implemented. And then there was another reason of discrimination of women in political spaces, which is coupled with violence against women and youth in politics at all stages of the election cycle, from nomination to campaigning to voting and tallying. And then another reason that was given was the lack of resources. Women, more often women and youth, they lack resources, and it also boils down to governance, lack of employment, lack of economic empowerment activities, which translate then into the effect on the political space. And then another reason that was given was that there are lack of policies that can really strengthen women and youth participation in politics. Recommendations: political parties should have gender policies and should underline and promote women and youth roles in their manifestos. They should also come up with political party quotas for youth and women. There should be capacity building for women and youth to strengthen their ability to participate in politics and in elections. Women and youth need to collaborate and build alliances with each other and across each other. There's also a need to provide resources for women and youth in politics. Some people suggested the setting up of a special fund for women where the revenue can be taxed from the citizen, or making sure that the Political Party Financing Act makes it compulsory for a certain number of youth and women to be on the political party list. Then there was a recommendation for collection of gender disaggregated data to allow for effective planning and inclusion of women and youth in elections, particularly by electoral management bodies. And then there was a call for gender audits to be done in political parties, in the cabinet, in other decision-making areas. And then there was also a call to reserve seats for women to contest on their own. Lastly, there was a call for enhancing entrepreneurship for women and youth so that they can be able to have enough resources to allow them to take up leadership roles in politics and in decision-making. Oh, last but not least, the AU recs and the member states should keep to their commitments on gender equality and women's empowerment, particularly the Maputo Protocol and the Solemn Declaration on Gender Equality in Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Martha. That was very well captured. I wish we had more time to go through. I see lots of comments coming in. I'll just read the last three very fast as we close up. Recommendation number 1 from AREC: there's need for women to have more coalitions to support each other in terms of gaining political and economic leadership, be it advocacy, lobby networks, to influence policy in a large number that could be an advantage to us. And I think that is the kind of space that GIMAC provides and helps to amplify these allies and advocacy to the highest possible level. Civic education is needed to build women capacity, and this responsibility should be taken up by civil society organization and young women networks. So that right there is a challenge to the GIMAC Young Women Network to take up civic education and capacity building. Youth need to be nurtured, empowered within the organization to exercise within the organization and learn how to come over with these challenges.
Comment faire face à ces défis.
Youth need to be assured of their future by being offered jobs.
La jeunesse doit bien avoir conscience de leur avenir.
Not to copy bad things from corruption. And then lastly, and this is very critical, it's a bad thing on our side that youth are not patient, and we want to reach our dreams using shortcuts, which is not good for us, and it shall bring up bad governance in future. I mean, colleagues, we have so much. Boys of our age will not be attracted to discriminatory practices, which is cultural. They need to be taught about gender equality. They need to know and believe that well-educated girls is equal as well as educated boy. Thank you very much. This speaks to having men into the conversation of gender. This has been a fantastic session. I'm your facilitator, Stephen Dere, and I'm happy to have had you today. All of you on the live webinar, all of you on live stream session.
Sur ce webinaire, vous étiez là en train de suivre. Merci.
Okay, I've just been muted, so I think I would like to close it here and say thank you so much. We'll be breaking for lunch break and resume at 1400 hours, 2 p.m. East Africa time for the last round of breakout session. Thank you and all the best, colleagues. See you in 30. Karen, you could perhaps take up the floor as the rest of the colleagues are settling in.
Okay, so we've come to the afternoon session, and we'll continue from where we left, back into 2 sessions running parallel. This session will be, just give me a second. Just give me a second. So for those who remain in this session, we're going to discuss economic empowerment. It will be facilitated by Ms. Victoria. And for those who are interested in the health session, you can join the breakout session. I've sent an email to everyone who registered to the health session, so that can guide you. Victoria? Victoria? Let me see if Victoria is connected, and then we'll get back shortly.
Victoria, have you been able to join? Udasi? Udasi, can you hear me?
Victoria, try to speak now.
Yes, can you hear me?
Oh, perfect. Yes, loud and clear. Go ahead.
Okay, good. Will I be able to share my screen from my end?
Try and let's see if you're able to.
Okay, it's actually a webinar and I'm more used to...
Okay, just click the share screen on your screen. I'm not sure if you can see that, but just click on that share screen and see if you're able to continue.
Actually, there's not even an icon showing share screen. Strange, eh?
Okay, technical challenges.
Yes, there's nothing showing share screen, not like the normal Zoom meetings that I'm used to.
Okay, when you look at the taskbar down below, can you see where there's participants, Q&A, chat, share?
Actually, there's only chat, raise hand, question and answer, and interpretation. That's all.
And interpretation?
Yes.
Ooh, okay. Keith, let me see if I can have you have more access from my end. No, I don't think I'm able to. Keith and Wudase, could you please help us? If you could please just continue, Victoria, for now.
Okay, let me do this. Let me quickly email you my presentation.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, the one written training in PowerPoint presentation. Okay, check, see if you have received it. I've sent it through. Karen? Karen, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, can you open the email? I've sent it through.
You've sent it to me?
Yes, I've sent it to you.
Okay. Just a minute. A presentation. I can't see a presentation from you.
Are you sure?
Yes. I've seen it, Victoria. I've seen it.
Okay, good. Can you just open it in presentation mode? Slideshows.
Just give me a second.
Okay.
In the meantime, you can start as we figure this out. Yeah.
Okay.
Erastus, you're saying something, and then Ryan, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Victoria.
Erastus, if you can hear me, please go ahead. Or we can have Ryan. Go ahead.
Karen, can I start? Karen?
Yeah, I think who's speaking is the person in this session. I think you can start, Victoria.
Okay, good. Because I was a bit, yeah. Good
start.
afternoon, everyone. I'm so honored to be giving training to the youth through this initiative. My name is Victoria Haihambo, and I'm from Namibia. I'm the founder of a company called Angel Vipa Online. And Angel Vipa Online is basically a combination of e-commerce and women empowerment in Namibia. We link local products of local micro vendors to the market by selling their product on our e-commerce platform and helping them reach a wider market for their products. We also have a visual women's hub where we train women online, giving them capacity building programs such as business training and mentorship. I'm going to take you through this topic today, which is about economic empowerment under the theme Silencing the Gun and Creating a Conducive Condition.
Victoria.
Okay, can you, I think you were, I was muted. I think I can share my screen now from my side. Karen?
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can share.
Yeah, okay, good. Okay. So I'll just continue. I don't know where you guys lost me there. So basically, we are going to discuss about economic empowerment under the theme Silencing the Guns and Creating a Conducive Condition for Africa Development. Silencing the Guns in Africa entails empowering young women and girls and giving them access to capacity building programs where they're able to craft their own solution to challenges they face. Silencing the guns does not only means eliminating conflicts on African continent, but it means silencing illiteracy, silencing youth unemployment, silencing gender-based violence, and silencing all the challenges faced by young women and girls. Okay. Just to go through the course outline, first we're going to discuss the definition of economic empowerment, and then the importance of economic empowerment, the way to empower women and girls, the barrier to economic empowerment, conclusion, and Q&A session, and then we end the session. When we talk about economic empowerment, this basically means empowering previously disadvantaged people to engage in economic activities that allow them to benefit as individuals and also to benefit the broader society. So when we talk about previously disadvantaged people, we are looking at women, Black people, and physically disabled persons. By empowering individuals to be economically and financially self-sufficient, and to ensure that individuals and families are able to maintain sufficient income to constantly meet their basic needs, and also to help them to become more productive members of the society. Now, why economic empowerment? Why is the world preaching economic empowerment? Different countries are preaching economic empowerment. Different organizational bodies are preaching economic empowerment. Why? Why is it important? Number one, there's limited economic opportunity for women, and women need to be given access to those economic opportunities. Adolescent girls face limited education and economic opportunities, and women economic empowerment is a way to realize women's rights and gender equality, and it's also the key to achieving the agenda for sustainable development goals. Talking about limited economic opportunity for women, this basically just means that women lag behind, subsequently behind men in their access to market opportunity. And because of the gender norms, restrictive gender norms that prescribe that women are primarily responsible for childbearing and household chores, and they have limited access to making decisions. So they are limited. If you look in this picture right here, we are seeing a community where women are busy carrying out their duties as housewives and mothers, fetching water from the well to go and prepare food and so on. While on the right-hand side, we see men sitting under a tree trying to discuss a solution a water solution or perhaps water crisis in the community, and they say women are too busy to discuss the water. So that is the challenge that women face, that they're not involved in decision making. The other reason why economic empowerment is important, adolescent girls face limited education and economic opportunities. Girls face these challenges because they marry early and they enter into childbearing at a very young age, and this prevents them from continuing their higher education and attaining employment in future. In addition to this, women and girls lag behind in terms of getting formal jobs. Boys are more likely to have employment opportunity compared to girls because of this limitation that of marrying early and bearing children at the very, very early age. Women empowerment help to realize women's rights and gender equality. Empowering women will help the women to also equally participate in existing markets, allowing them to access decent jobs, allowing them to have control over their lives, over their times and bodies, allowing them to participate in decision making at all different levels, from household level to institutional level. Okay. Empowering women also help to achieve 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development Goals, particularly Goal 5, which is to achieve gender equality. And gender equality can only be achieved if women and men, girls and boys have equal rights and have equal opportunities and are given the same conditions, as well as Goal 8, which is to promote full and productive employment and decent work for all, meaning we have to ensure that young women and persons with disabilities have equal pay to work and are treated equal in terms of value in workplaces. As well as Goal 1, which is to end poverty. This is basically just to enhance the basic needs of the people and to help people to build a resilience against the impact of disaster, which can be caused, which can actually disrupt the livelihood of the people, and we can cause damage to the various resources. Another goal which can be achieved through economic empowerment and women empowerment is to ensure that the goal of food security, which is basically to ensure that everyone, everywhere, has enough food. And it's not only food, but good quality food that can lead to a healthy life. As well, last but not least, Goal 3, which is to ensure health. So empowering women will lead to realizing Sustainable Development Goal 3, which is to ensure health, to ensure that the people are healthy and they are in good health. Now, talking about what are the practical ways to empower women and girls. Number one, we say we have to provide a ticket to better life, support girls and women in crisis, invest in small business owners, and use one's voice to help keep girls in school, as well as tell women in life that you care. Providing a ticket to better life simply just means helping women and adolescent girls access to learning opportunities, ensuring that girls are in school, and as well as providing the necessary training and skill that can help women start businesses. And in this case, the government, private sectors, they have to work collectively together to to empower women, especially women with entrepreneurs ideas, so that they can start their business and sustain their businesses. We can also empower women and girls by helping them, support them during crisis. We have to provide support for women in crisis, help them feel safe and to rebuild their lives. You as an individual, women or a girl, can help other women or girls feel valued. As you all know, in developing countries, poverty has denied the ability for the youth or young girl to thrive. And empowering girls and women will help to overcome poverty and abuse. And we can help them to reach their God-given potential and help these women in the community be in a community and make a community a place where women and young girls can thrive. To support women, we can also protect them and equip them by providing them the right and necessary healthcare information to healthcare, counseling, and other recovery services, recovery to abuse, trauma, and so on, and educational opportunity. Like in Namibia, we have launched free primary education in 2013, and in 2016, there is now free secondary education was launched. So by government to come up with policies or come up with innovations that can enable more young girls to be educated, it can help to support women and girls. Private sectors, government, and other organizations can also support women by investing in small business owners. This means that the private sectors, the government should really work hard to reach out to hardworking female entrepreneurs who are waiting to realize their dream of building, expanding a successful business. By giving them a loan or a grant will help them to build their business and to actually make a living from that business and support their families. We can also support women by telling women in your life that you care. Tell a sister you care, tell a neighbor, tell a person you work with in your community that you care, tell the other girl child that you care, and yeah, just build that community of caring for each other and supporting each other during crisis or a women come to you with you need advice, show him direction. Yeah, just women supporting women in the community is very important. Reach out to a sister, reach out to a mother, help out when you can. You can also use your voice to help keep girls in school. For example, the youth and women can come up with organization that they can organize themselves and then form bodies that community groups that discuss about issues that lead to girls dropping out of school. They can also carry out campaign, for example, donate $1, support a child to stay in school, and that way we at the grassroots level can make an impact rather than waiting on the government to develop policies and so on. So, because when a girl finishes school, a lot of good things happen because education is the key to a better life, and being uneducated have actually put women at a disadvantage. Also to explain to, just to explain here that if girls remain in school, complete school, there's a lot of good things, as I mentioned. They live longer, they marry later, other than being forced to marry, because they understand if you are educated, you are able to make the right decision, rather than to enter into an early marriage, early childbearing, and that which can really impact your future in a negative way. So being educated will lead to women earning higher salaries and wages, and allowing women then to be more active, to participate in community life. Let's look at the barrier for economic empowerment. We're going to focus on 3 barriers: the financial barrier, educational barrier, and legal barrier. There's various constraints that can really lead to, that can really have a negative or negative effect on women empowerment. So such as finance. Since women are viewed as caregivers and they are confined to their home with a limited scope to financial products, they have limited access to finance. And also the social belief that women should not own property or be involved in financial decisions. When women own businesses and they want to take out a loan for their business, it becomes difficult, because in some countries, in some society, it is believed that women should not own properties, and this can impact negatively on them when they want to take out a loan for business. There's also a belief that women are not expected to run businesses because it interferes with their primary responsibility of managing households and looking after the family. Some African culture believe that women should stay at home, they should not work, they should not run business. So this also limits them from becoming financially independent as women. Another financial barrier is financial literacy. The inability to use English language on the phone or other digital services make it difficult for women to use digital applications or like mobile money to access, to access, or even to use finance to send money, to receive money, and so on. So it's important that women become literate so that they can be able to communicate well in the official language, which is English, which is widely used. Educational barrier. School-age youth have a growing pressure to leave their education in order to begin supporting their family, especially young girls, because they have an obligation to help in the home in a greater way than the boy. This put pressure on young girls to drop out of schools, and since once they drop out of school, they are therefore at a disadvantage when it comes to finding jobs in future. So it's important that this barrier should be overcome. Young girls should be educated, should be encouraged to stay in school. Parents should be educated on the importance of education and supporting their children in school. Another barrier to economic empowerment is a legal barrier. In many countries, there's a weak legal infrastructure or legislation to protect women against gender-based violence. women are often unprotected against gender-based violence around Africa. And these women who have experienced gender-based violence often suffer from a loss of productivity at the workplace, and they become psychologically fear, and that prevent them from fully participating in their respective economies. They do not perform well at work because they are under pressure at home. They are not happy at home. Yeah. So and there's also another legal barrier, which is unfair practice, labor practice at the workplace. Some employers have policies against hiring women because they believe that they have invariably take time off from work. They are more prone to take maternity leave and to take off leave when the child is sick. This policy then put the women at a disadvantage, denying them the opportunity to earn income. Just to summarize my presentation of this training, basically the way that we as young women or the government, the private sector, everybody collectively around Africa, the way we can empower women and a girl child is by giving the women the women and child the right to be what they desire to be, not forcing them into early marriage, allowing them to be at school, allowing the women to access finance to support their family and to run their business effectively, ensuring women are educated, they're able to communicate in official language, protecting women's rights, and allowing them to have a freedom of speech, allowing them to voice their concern and things that affect them, allowing them to participate in decision making. Thank you so much for listening. And that ends my presentation. Now it's time for questions and answers. Hello, Karen?
Yes?
Yes, I've just opened the session, I mean the question and answer session.
So if anyone has a question, just raise up your hand, or a concern, a contribution, so that we can address it. Can everyone hear, or am I speaking alone?
Karen, can you share the presentation again?
Yours.
Yeah, just that last part, question and answer, for it to be just on the screen. Okay, just maybe to add, maybe to direct the question and answer. Maybe what we can look at or what we can take from this training is, then how can I as a woman or girl ensure that I promote economic empowerment in my community? How do I support other women to promote gender equality? What can we as young women do to ensure that our needs are heard and our fears are addressed? Maybe just to answer those questions and people to having listened to the training presentation, just to then try to answer those questions. If there's no question, if anybody want to answer any of those questions that I just posed.
Someone has raised their hand up.
Okay, they may go ahead.
Yeah, actually, concerning the presentation, it was a good presentation, and I think the ways we can render women more economically independent and financially independent, it all starts from the base. That is, sending our children to education. Education for me is the key, because everything starts from the base. When we teach our daughters, our sisters that going to school in some way, especially if the policies are well designed, is going to accompany the child. It's going to be more easy for her to be economically, because she's how does she's educated, that things she can understand and she can fight for herself. She can create her own way and take her own path. So for me, education, access to education is very, very important if we are willing to achieve, to make women economically independent and financially independent. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your input. That is very insightful. Yeah. So it basically means we should start from home. You know, so you need to start from home. Talk to your sisters, your children. Talk to your neighbors. If you see a person is not going to school, encourage them to go to school. Tell them about the importance of school, because it's no use we only preach about economic empowerment when we're at community meeting, while your neighbor's child is not going to school, or your friend's child or your sister is not going to school. So it basically has to start from home. Thank you so much for that input.
There's someone else who's raised their hand up. Tianshi?
Yes,
yes. Yes, you can go ahead.
Hello? To
Tinashe, your hand is up.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Tinashe?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I was saying, I think the whole issue has to start from childhood. Teaching us boys, teaching the kids that women are not objects of abuse. Women are equal to us. They are humans, just like we are. Because I remember from childhood, you would think a lady is a person who is in fear, someone who can't do much. So I think if we start by catching them young, would want, and also trying to create some role models from childhood, some gender champions, young gender champions, some young ladies who are willing and able to stand on their own. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that input. Yeah, it's correct. We should educate our young boys from the early age. Yeah, because a boy child who grew up in a house where she sees her father abusing her mother or not valuing women, they will tend to be abusive in life and not to value women later in life. So it's very important that as a mother, as mothers, we should educate our sons that women are valuable. They are not objects. Thank you so much for that input.
Thank you.
Any other question?
There's no other hand up. So I think we can continue with the discussions online because we're running out of time. Maybe Victoria, you can give us your closing remarks and then for your presentation, and then we can close this session.
Okay. Thank you so much, Karen, for having me, and thank you so much to GIMAC Network for inviting me to be on this platform. Myself, as a founder of Angel Vipa Online, one of our mission is to empower women, and that's why this topic really touched my heart, and I'm happy to be here training about women, and because without supporting women, without encouraging women and helping them to thrive in a society, it can be a stumbling block to silencing the guns and creating that conducive environment for development in Africa that we need, because women are an important part of the society. And if both men and women are able to access equal opportunity, we'll have more human resources on the job who are then contribute to the economic development of a particular country. So thank you so much, and we can then continue the discussion online. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you so much, Victoria, and everyone who's participated. We've not cut you short because we don't want your input, but because we are trying to save time. So I'm going to invite Keith to guide us on how we are going to get back together from our different sessions so that we're able to wrap up, come up with the recommendations and the pledges that we're going to be carrying forward from this meeting so that we are also walking the talk, yeah? So Keith, please guide us on how to get back to the main session. Keith?
Agenda is my agenda.
In the meantime, as we wait for Keith, I'm sure all of us in our different organizations have been carrying out different activities, and it would be nice for you to share so that we are also able to know which activities we can join you in, which activities we can support, because the youth network is growing, and we would love to always include you in any activities that we do. So as we continue this conversation, if you have any activities that you've been doing to silence the guns and that you would want some of the youth network members to join, feel free to share with us,
Karen?
to share on our social media pages, even for the next 3 days.
Yes, Karen, I just want to share something that we actually supporting youth across Africa to sell their product on our e-commerce platform, and through our visual hub training. We are not only training people in Namibia, but also other startups from other countries. I've just put my email in the chat. So if anybody wants to reach out and they want to be part of our network and part of our to sell their product on our platform, they can reach out to that email address.
Okay, thank you. That's okay. Any other person who would want to share more information, just share on the chat and then we can share with the members. Yeah. Okay, so let's figure out how we can get back to the next session and then we can join the rest of our colleagues in the health presentation.
Hello? Mic check? Hello?
Hello.
Victoria, are you done with the session?
Yes, I'm done with the session.
Fantastic. And then we can wait for the other team to join in as they finish up.
Right. All right.
In the meantime, Yara, are you ready with your presentation?
Hello, Karen?
Yes, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. It's just that you went in while I didn't hear my name. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so the next session would be you. we've interchanged because we are still drafting the recommendations. So in the meantime, to save time, we are going to give a few minutes to our colleagues to wrap up, and then you can do your presentation, and then we can push the other one after you.
Amazing. So could you please share the PowerPoint from your side? Or
let's make you the host. Kate, help us to make her the host so that she's able to share.
Panelist can share screen, so Yara, you can do that.
Okay. Okay, just a second, please. Is it clear like this? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Although it can't be visible.
So,
okay, auto rotate up. Let's see. Super.
Slideshow, but I don't know from where. Anyone can help? Okay, I guess this is better, right? All right, so I can proceed now, right?
Yeah, sure. I think you can start.
All right, thank you. So hello, everybody. Thank you for having me today and such fruitful conversations since morning. I'm really happy being part of GIMAC Youth Network. It's been amazing work throughout this year, although this year wasn't really so stable because of COVID-19. Even we couldn't see each other, but I believe that we've been in good touch, even if a lot is going around on the national level in our lives. So yeah, I will just today I'm going to share with you some few points. I mean, mainly the points that the role of GIMAC and the activities that have been running throughout this year since February when we met at the African Union until this moment we are in now. So actually speaking, everybody spoke in the last clusters. We're talking about how to silence the guns and where we stand and what are we doing currently. And what I observed is that everyone is doing something at the national level. So it's not necessarily that we have to do a mega event or something that that's at the continental level or international level, because actually speaking, throughout many webinars and activities that have been going during COVID, we discovered that let's localize the efforts, because once we localize the efforts, then we can synchronize with the continental policies, and we can make the local level equivalent to the continental level and not the opposite. Because when we go to the continental level, we discover that we have great policies, we have human resources, we are all collaborative despite our differences and the differences, of course, of our countries. However, we still need to match the local level with the continental level. So I can't imagine the continent, honestly speaking, without progressing into the 6 thematic clusters that we have. And part of silencing the guns is having a continent free from hunger, unemployment, poor education, diseases, So actually speaking, we should focus more on each cluster. None of them is less than the other. They are all important. Also, I believe that the struggle we're living generally in Africa is linked to major continental struggles since the independence, democratization, sustainable livelihood, and women are part of it. And let's highlight something I also recognize, and I believe even my colleagues recognized this in the last period, men before women. And there was something that was criticized during the webinars, is that we cannot be talking about women empowerment and engagement in the absence of men, because it's a shared responsibility. So men need to be there in all organizations working on empowerment of women, gender equality. Men need to get into the talk, into the conversation. And I'm really happy that this time I can see, every time I can see, to be honest, with the African Union and with GIMAC, men representation. So we need to increase this more, because we cannot call for equal participation of women, for instance, in the political institutions or economically or socially, while in our own webinars we don't have equal as well voice of both men and women. And men awareness is important, so that women can also get more involved into the society. And by men awareness, women are going to get more skilled, are going to get more engaged. So let me get you into more updates and highlights of what young GIMAC members are doing. And by here, I'm not talking about just the members on the board or even the chair. I'm talking about the network. It's everybody who's engaging with GIMAC is working on the personal level on a couple of stuff, but all of them are all to few goals or small goals that GIMAC is always seeking, which is advocacy, which is capacity building, which is sharing right information, which is the implementation of the decisions and the recommendation that every time or during the training we bring out, and applying them at the national level and trying to engage as much as possible partners, diverse partners, whether at the national or continental or the international level, and bring out all the voices of youth, the recommendations and their status and what they really aim for themselves to table. And that's what has been taking place in the last period. We have a lot written down after each webinar, and I'm quite sure you too have the same by engaging in different webinars, but we need to collect them up. And this is the time that we're collecting them up. And I hope that everyone engaged as well during the cluster. And if you're not yet, kindly also write down. So this is mainly what we're doing: advocacy, partnerships, capacity building, how to bridge the gap in order to reach gender equality. How can we endorse and empower women more and more? And it differs from a country to another. So, and I'm going to give you examples throughout the activities that I'm going to talk about in a bit. What else? So, mainly, definitely, we understand that COVID brought our minds, made a wake-up call that digitalization is very important. However, I believe that digitalization has been important since ever. We're now in the 21st century. It's just that we needed something that wake us up like from the dilemma of online or offline. How can I reach those people? How can I reach everybody? But still we have a problem, which is people who are left behind, people who cannot access proper internet, people who are not cannot afford such technology. And there are some people who can afford it, but at the same time, they're not well educated around how to use it, which is very important. So actually speaking, I believe that in the last period, we've all been trying to reach out to NGOs and other partners so that we can reach out to everybody, even to the private sector. For telecom, for instance, telecom companies, that we need affordable internet access to remote areas, to the countryside, to marginalized areas, to even disadvantaged. We're talking about migrants, refugees. They need to know how to access all this. So let me take you through the activities and apply the work that I've been mentioning now about each member doing into these activities. Mainly this year, in the last couple of months, we have a mega 6 months of activity running with the Office of the Youth Envoy, the African Union Youth Envoy, which is called the African Youth Front on Coronavirus. Actually, who is leading on that is Dolapo, my colleague as well in GIMAC, and I. And we have been working on this network with different networks in the continent to support the work of the African Union through the Africa CDC in order to respond to COVID-19. And we worked on a couple of subtitles. I can go in depth in all, but I know I'm going to take lots of time, so I'll try to be brief as much as possible, which is that during COVID, you know that it was really dangerous, that wrong information is shared through social media or even through tongue or through news media. So it was very important that we unify the information to be correct, so that we don't have wrong information dissemination. And this was through the Office of the Youth Envoy and Africa CDC. And each network and each person is trying to align it with the national one or with his network. So this was very important, working on the kind of information shared and how is it shared on COVID, so that no panic takes place, no chaos. Any wrong information was going to cause violence, was going to cause problems in the society that we are trying to avoid in order to reach peace in our countries, and as well as silencing, reaching a peaceful continent. A second thing was that we were working on, there were like sub-webinars to the network, like how to protect your mental health as for women and young girls, especially that during COVID we discovered that the ratio of domestic violence was increasing in our countries, and I witnessed that it was increasing more in North Africa. I don't have a current statistic now, but at that time when we were searching, it was quite clear through statistics. So it was important that we start to get women and young girls aware of how to protect their mental health, especially that it was very hard to go and visit a doctor or a psychiatrist or a mental health practitioner, whoever. So at that time we collected data from different countries, and we tried to also different networks, so that these data could be shared, data of contacts of doctors or of centers that could help women from home to overcome any mental issues or any extreme mental issues that might take place because of violence, because maybe they are in the informal sector, so they lost their job, they don't have any income anymore, maybe because of staying with their kids all the time. The kids started to also face some mental health, the way of communicating in the family. So it was important to look after the mental health side. Also, there was another webinar under the network about digitalization, which is how to reach out, how to do as much as possible partnerships, so that you reach out to everybody, to people who cannot access the internet or who cannot use it, or in general, like remote areas and people who cannot be on the same level of you, who are not able to access information, simple information. And it was important at that time because this kind of information wasn't just news or about politics or economic. It was news about how to protect yourself from COVID and other diseases, and people who are facing other diseases, how can you look after yourself? Because as we all know that most of the hospitals were all packed by COVID patients. There was another webinar about education. It was in the same terms that education, yes, it became online. It seems that it's easier than going to school and such, but it's still that education, there were many dropouts, especially for women and young girls, because they cannot access internet, or because their parents just is like, leave school, it's not important anymore, and it was the only chance for her to go to school was when it was offline, not online. And of course, the increase of domestic violence would decrease the probability of young women and girls to continue on education. So mainly there were many things taking place under this network, the African Youth Front on Coronavirus, but mainly those were the glamorous, achievements that took place, that we started to talk in parallel. Like, I believe that these small webinars that took place definitely were reflecting back into the clusters of GIMAC, so that we unify our perspectives and visions, and how we can see this year passing, and also benefit for the next years, because it's not that Corona is over, then it's over. We faced struggle, we faced problems that existed before, and it increased, and it was highlighted well when we faced the Corona. So we don't want to fall into this again for the next years, for any crisis that might take place. Let us call it like crisis management. Also, under the same front, currently GIMAC is leading on consultative meetings with the front. It's still going on, it's not yet done, but actually speaking, these consultative meetings are going to verify more for GIMAC's role and activities on Twitter, and update on its thematic areas under the African Youth Front on Corona. And these consultative meetings are under the front is done especially because supposedly that the front for Corona is going to last in, like, it took 6 months, so maybe it's going to last in the coming months. So we need to get out not recommendations, but to bring out achievements and upcoming small milestones that we can proceed with. And definitely it's not called the African Youth Front on Coronavirus. Actually, the front itself, the network, is part, like all the networks, part of it, GIMAC, is part of this network. So it's not a new network, it's not a new policy, it's not a new document that's coming up. It's us. It's the same people in different places, but gathered in one place under one network, so that they all share and benefit. Also, we did the Africa Youth, so as well as GIMAC under the Africa Youth Front on Coronavirus, there was live Twitter chat on Mask Up, Stand Up, Don't Give Up the Fight. And this actually, I believe it happened last month, because as we all know that the quarantine was lifted up, and people started to ignore the fact that Corona is not over, and that it's just the quarantine is left up, or it's left up just because the economy of the country, it's a global, it has another global perspective and global measures around trade, economy, political participation, that many countries are going to collapse economically. But still, we're facing problems towards maintaining a good health for our citizens. So this campaign took place. We participated as GIMAC Youth Network to make people aware of, you should mask up, you should still don't give up the fight, because there's still Corona. We're not quite sure of if there is a second wave or not, and we don't have to call it waves. As long as there is a virus in the air, we need all to take care of this. And I don't think it's the last time we're going to wear masks. Generally, we wear masks even before COVID, if you have simple flu, normal flu. And this is for safety and for the safety of everybody, so that we would change the mentality of African citizens towards how to live healthy. It's part of education, it's part of health, it's part of their productivity generally, at the political, economic, and governance side, and everything in life. So this was the message, the key message behind this campaign. Also, there's the digital. Okay. All right, there is something that's not shown in the points, but it's fine. Digital campaign, COVID-19 gender responses by GIMAC. This took place as well live on Twitter. I hope that most of the people that are attending now were part of the ones engaged in this hashtag. It was very important that we open it up to different cultures share activities in different fields, so that we also give a chance, because it's important to know how people think from time to time, especially that we cannot contain this current period or control this current period of the COVID. I'm gonna summarize more and more. So there are other activities that took place. The girls' perspective on COVID-19 crisis and its effect on their health and social status. This was one of the webinars as well GIMAC participated in. As you can see, it's talking about the perspective of girls, and actually speaking, girls at that time were saying their perspective around how they can maintain good health and about their social status. And it was very good to make people who are suffering, who are really in need, to engage in this webinar and talk about themselves. Another one, which is Africa Youth. Yeah, so it's on a webinar on accelerating education on women and girls in Africa. It was also talking about education and that how we can make digitalized education perfect, because it's not about how to get back to schools, it's how to sustain in general education in our countries, regardless the mechanism, whether it's online or offline. And education includes as well right information, dissemination, your self-awareness, your awareness about the people around. So education is not only the curriculum of school, it's also you yourself. And the last thing is about engaging in Nigerian students on advocacy. We're trying that at the national level, one leads on advocacy and talks about women empowerment, gender equality, women rights, and how can this take place at the local level through small groups. So this is mainly these are mainly the activities and what each person is doing. And of course, I'm quite sure that you're doing more and more. It's just that I'm trying to give you a glimpse of the activities taking place. Maybe that you can also create or innovate a newer activity that you can share it with us as GIMAC, find the suitable partners, and we can always proceed with achievements. Thank you so much, and back to Karen. And please, if I lost anything, you can always add to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yara. That was comprehensive. So from this conversation, we can see that our youth network is growing. Day by day, we are getting more partnerships, we are doing more activities. So, and that's why I still insist on the fact that if you have any activities you want us to join in, we are more than glad to support. Yeah, you can always write to us. We've had a lot of engagements with our digital campaign. Thank you to everyone who's taken part in it. That has helped us to grow as a youth network. And there's something really nice, the fact that we are still young, we have all the potential to grow. So it's important that we coordinate, we work together so that we are also able to achieve a common goal. So the next presentation would be from Ruadzano. Ruadzano is going to come up with, from all our discussions, we've highlighted key things which we would like to present them as recommendations, and just not recommendations, also as pledges. Because you remember I mentioned that all the time we have the network, we are like, we want our governments to do this, we want the AU to do this, but this time, because we are youths and we always act, we want to say, we youths, what are we doing so that we can contribute to silencing the guns? What are we doing to contribute to safer communities? So Ruadzano, if you're ready, you can take the floor. Can you hear me?
Mon problème, mon truc, mon cell phone a un
she's
problème
muted.
avec ton WhatsApp. Hein? Donc, je parle maintenant, je prends la relève. OK.
Someone unmute her. She's muted.
Est-ce qu'on peut ouvrir son micro, s'il vous plaît, parce que son micro est fermé?
Before she comes, I've seen Stephen, you've raised your
Et
hand up.
avant qu'elle n'intervienne, je vois la main levée de Steven.
Would you like to add something to this?
Est-ce que vous voulez ajouter quelque chose?
Stephen?
Steven?
I'm an interpreter, actually. I'm just raising my hand so that I can be assigned as an interpreter.
Moi, je suis interprète et je voudrais qu'on puisse pouvoir me réhabiliter en tant qu'interprète.
Sorry.
C'est pourquoi je lève ma main. Excusez-nous.
Rua, can you hear us?
Rua, est-ce que vous nous suivez?
Hello. Yes, I can hear you, Karen.
Voilà,
Thank you so much.
je vous entends, Karen. Merci beaucoup.
So I'm going to share the 3 pledges.
Moi, je vais partager les 3 engagements.
And the recommendations.
Ou les 3 promesses et recommandations.
From the 4 sessions that I managed to receive.
Et maintenant, des 4 sessions que j'ai pu recevoir.
Okay, the first pledge is the youth network pledge.
Donc, le premier engagement,
to be part of decision-making processes through.
Nos jeunes doivent faire partie de la prise de décision.
As the youth network, we also pledge to contribute
Et en
our
tant
time
que réseau de la jeunesse, nous devons aussi contribuer avec notre temps.
And resources to educate communities on peace building.
Et nos ressources pour éduquer nos communautés sur le maintien de la paix ou l'édification de la paix.
We also pledge to be the peace as young people.
Nous nous sommes engagés à être aussi la paix en tant que jeunes personnes.
As in most conflict cases, young people fight each other. But now that we know better, will be used to promote
que nous avons constaté que les jeunes gens se battent les uns contre les autres dans les instances de violence ou de conflit. Mais maintenant que nous avons appris, nous connaissons davantage et nous allons changer les choses.
Excuse me, I think we have an issue with translation.
Excusez-nous, nous avons un problème avec l'interprétation.
We are hearing both English and French at the same time.
Nous entendons l'anglais et le français en même temps. Est-ce qu'on peut résoudre ce problème, technicien?
Should I continue, Chair?
Dois-je continuer, Madame la Présidente?
Let's see if we can fix this first, so that
voyons si on peut résoudre donc ce problème avant que nous ne puissions continuer.
Madam Chair, I think that the French interpreter has the same issue that I had before and has not been assigned per se as interpreter.
L'interprète en français a le même problème que j'ai eu avant, donc on ne l'a pas assigné comme interprète.
Let's get our technician to help us. Just give me a few minutes.
Teresa, could you please tell them to please check our interpreter status? We have the impression that
can we try again?
Should I continue, Chair?
Yeah, continue.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'm going to give you the recommendations from the Peace and Security Cluster. The first recommendation is intergenerational dialogues with young people on peace and security. The second one is commit to information sharing on importance of peace and security for young people. The third recommendation is on training and capacity building. The fourth recommendation is using social media in amplifying youth voices. On education, we
Ce qui
recommend...
concerne l'éducation,
we recommend that government should create skills training centers to economically empower young people. We also recommend trauma and healing and psychosocial support for young people who are in conflict areas. We encourage adult learning systems for young people who would have dropped out of school due to conflict. We also recommend the stop of importation of guns and investments in education. We also recommend professional education to be encouraged. On economic empowerment, we recommend the support of girls and women in conflicts. We also recommend the investment of small businesses that are being started by young people and young women in communities. We also recommend the use of our voices to keep girls in school. On the human rights recommendations, we recommend interventions to establish safe spaces or use the available community centers for safe space for women and girls who would have experienced human rights violations, where psychosocial support and counseling is provided. We also recommend the formulation of protection policies and programs that focus on elimination of structural violence against women and girls, and also advocate for adoption of specific measures to prevent, investigate, and punish those responsible for the abuse. We also recommend involvement of women in decision-making, especially in conflict areas where women have no voice in terms of taking political seats. So we recommend that women should take leadership roles in political seats in conflict areas. As the world is going digital, we also recommend the use of social media platforms accessible to young women and young people to express their cases of human rights violation without victimization. We also recommend ensuring the strengthening of cultural innovations where young people can freely express themselves and alert on human rights violations. Thank you so much, Chair. I only received the recommendations from the 4 clusters.
Have you finished the pledges also?
Yes, I can repeat the pledges. The first pledge was that the youth network pledges to empower young people to be part of decision-making processes through mentorship. We also pledge to contribute our time and resources to educate communities on peace building. We also pledge to be the peace in most times youth fight each other, but now that we know better, we will not be used to promote violence. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. And I hope as we pledge, when we go back to our organization, we'll continue doing the same. So it's been a long day full of technical hitches, but I'm glad we've come to the end of this day. So we're going to share the full presentation. Our rapporteurs are putting the full presentation together where we are able to share with all the participants who registered for this. Apart from that, we are happy that you stayed. I'm sure with the issues of internet, we had a lot of challenges, but we soldier on. Thank you so much. We continue to, this is the end of the youth training. However, the main GIMAC starts tomorrow, and I'm sure we will continue engaging because gender continues to be our agenda. Thank you so much. If anyone has nothing to add on, I think we have come to the end of our meeting, and I'm going to give it to the host, the GIMAC host. Kit, is that you or Rudasi to give the closing remarks.
Thank you, Karen. But before Udasi picks up, as a tradition, what we try to do is to just look at our beautiful faces and know that we are all humans who attended this meeting, and also take a nice selfie for record and for reference. So please, if you don't mind, let's turn on our videos for 2 minutes so we can all take nice selfie before we close up, please.
My video is apparently been stopped by host. I can't put on my video.
Give me a second. Let me try and
You can't put
sort
on
that.
our video as well.
Okay, just give me 1 second.
Yeah,
Give me 1 second.
Okay.
1 second. We'll try and do that.
Hi, Yara. Hi, Che. Hi, Anne.
Hi, ladies.
Nice to see you.
Why weren't we on all the time?
Please permit me to enable my video.
Hi, Karen.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Coming, permitting all of you, permitting all of you. Super, super, super. Almost there. Sorry, it's taking a bit of a time, but we are almost there, almost there, almost there.
Look at everybody smiling.
Yep, we are getting there, we are getting there. I wish we could all read the statement or the pledge. It would have been so nice.
Maybe we screen share it.
Rua, are you
Yes,
able
we
to
can
share
screen
the
share
screen? Rosaria,
and then
I
we all
see
read
you.
it.
Rosaria is on fire.
I will see you. Rua, are you able to share the recommendations on the screen?
Just the pledge, I guess.
The pledge, I mean, the pledge, yeah.
Okay, so everybody is permitted to share their screen. As we get the screen sharing, I still see a few people with their screens off. Martha, John, Christian, well, those are the interpreters. So they're still in the booth. And picture number 1 goes. Yep. Picture number 2. Oh, Rosaria, we see you. Yeah, we still see a few people with the screens off. Let's do it again. Rosaria, hands up. Viva, power to the people. Yeah. Group 1, 1 second. Another, yep. Power to the people. There we go. Nice. All right, can you be able to share the screen?
Ru, I don't think she
different.
are you able to share?
No, I'm using a different laptop, so I wanted to transfer it to the other laptop. So.
We can give you a few seconds as we take more pictures.
So let's all take and use this picture to send out a tweet, if you can, and share out what was your best experience about the session today. Keep the hashtag 36GIMAC. So we'll share it, this screenshot, and please use it and say what has been your takeout from the session today using the hashtag 36GIMAC. It will be really nice to see your takeouts. And more pictures. A few more. Yep. Perhaps in the meantime,
Farid,
as we get
nice
the...
to see you. I can see Farid, right? Nice to see you. Hi.
Good to see you all. Have a good day.
Keith, are we done?
From my side, I'm good.
The pledges.
Oh, the
Waiting for the
pledges.
pledge.
Oh, wait. Okay.
If it's a challenge, you can send it to me via WhatsApp and I can easily put it up.
We can see your emails.
Stop the share, look for the document, and then start the share again. So find the document and then start share. Hopefully it helps. Are we winning?
Keith, I think it's been sent to your WhatsApp.
What's happening now?
Keith, are we stuck?
I've sent them to Keith, the pledges.
Oops, sorry. Can we all see the screen?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay, maybe Karen,
Yes,
then you
can.
could give us cue
I could do what?
and we will do it. You can give us the cue and we can all do the declaration. Or we can all read the pledge.
Let's count to 3. Let's count to 3.
What are we doing
So
with
if
our
everyone,
hands?
you want to be dramatic while reading. So, do we read all of them, Keith? Or we just need to read like one?
Yeah, there are only 3. There are only 3.
Okay. So everyone unmute their mic. And then in the count of 1, 2, 3, let's go.
The youth pledges to empower youth to be piece of decision-making processes.
Stop. What is that? Let's give it one more time.
Choral.
Wait. 1, 2, 3, go. The youth network.
Youth network
pledges to empower young people to
part of decision-making process through mentorship. Pledge
time and resources to
educate building
communities and peace
on peace building. We pledge to
Pledge
be
to
the
be peace
pledge to be
movement
times
used are used to fight others, but now that we know better, will not be used to promote violence.
Wow, youth of Africa. Wow. Well, so what we'll do, we will share this picture on social media, and then we can make our pages. I think that would be good. Yeah?
Yeah.
We'll share the picture and then we can make all our pages online.
Okay.
All right, we've come to the end of our session, guys. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for the patience. Thank you for using your resources, the internet and time. We are appreciative. And I see someone in the kitchen, so I think it's time to go. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Bye. Bye. Bye.